Hi there, it's me, Karen McGahey. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my top 10 free online teaching tools. So let's get started. Number 10 on the list is CK12. And this is a standards-aligned content designed to help teachers manage in remote classroom. You can create a class, select the assignments you want students to focus on, and of course, you get all that data. One way I use it in live lesson is by giving students a link where they can manipulate different variables, and then we can come back to the main room and discuss. And this is using their Plix option here. Moving on to number 9. So number 9 is PBS Learning Media. This site houses a variety of standards-aligned educational videos and simulations accompanied by discussion questions that you can easily share with your students. You can search by subject, grades, and also by standards. What I like about PBS is that you also have access to lesson plans, and a lot of their videos come with discussion questions that you can share with your students. Number 8 on the list, and is quickly moving up for me, is Flipgrid. In this case, I have used Flipgrid to send out welcome messages and have students introduce themselves, and that way everybody gets to see who everyone is in the class. We have also used this at my school for a talent show, and everybody got to see each other's talent, comment, question, and things like that. If you teach some of the younger grades, you can also use this for a show and tell. I also use it for experiments so that students can come back, share their results, and then everybody else can see what everybody else is doing. Number 7 for me is Padlet. And Padlet is another free platform where you can have students share out different results. So it's kind of another discussion forum. And what I like about Padlet is that it's live. Any change that occurs that anybody makes, everybody else is able to see it right away. This is just an example here how I use it with my physical science, and we're talking about buoyancy. We're doing this experiment again in live lesson. Everybody has their materials ready to roll. They're putting pictures up as we're doing the experiment in class. So this allows them to interact with each other, comment, ask questions. If anybody has issues, you can address them right then and there. You're gonna have a pet day where everybody shares a picture of their pet or a random picture. Number 6 is Edublogs, and I became familiar with this one last year. Again, this is a platform where students can create their own blogs. Great if you teach an English class, social studies, science even. I use it a lot for my science class. And you can even use it in math. Again, you're promoting that digital citizenship and also encouraging students to share their findings, communicate with one another, problem solve. So here you can see my homepage, and as you can see here on the right, I have a list of all my students here that I can quickly click on any one of their posts. I can also give them feedback. They can see each other's posts. They can give each other feedback. They can ask each other questions. So it's really just a blog, but an educational version of it. I've also seen teachers turn this into their class websites where they share with the parents and the community and the whole school and things like that. So there's so much you can do with Edublogs. I'm looking forward to utilizing it way more this year, and I definitely see its potential, and therefore I have it here at number 6. Number 5 is a tie between Kahoot, Quizizz, and Socrative. So this is a way for you to gamify your lesson. They all work similarly. You upload your questions ahead of time, and then you can either have the students race in real time, or you can assign it asynchronously, and then you can go back and review the data for each one. Throughout the year, I take turns using these for review, and sometimes I may even use it at the beginning of a lesson, just so that the students can see where they're at with the content that we're about to learn. Number 4, it's a tie again between EdPuzzle and Khan Academy. So EdPuzzle I like and I use a lot if I'm going to be out for the day, or if I know that the students are going to need extra practice in an area and I want to be able to track that or to guide them a little bit more. So EdPuzzle, you search their videos that come already with questions in it, or you can upload your own video and add questions to it. So what it does is the students have to watch the video, of course, from beginning to end, but it would pause at certain areas and ask them certain questions, so that way they're paying attention and focusing on what you want them to. You get that information as to who took it, and you can give them proper credit for doing so. Khan Academy, I'm sure you're familiar with. They have a variety of resources that you can use. Everything is free. They can create their own account and just work at their own time, at their own pace. So again, I use this one too if I'm going to be absent or if the students need extra practice. Number 3, believe it or not, this would be YouTube. And the way I use YouTube to teach is I do a lot of tutorials on the most frequently asked questions, so that way I don't have to keep answering them every time. I can just send them the link and then have them get back to me if they still have questions. Also, if there is a problem or a question on a test or a worksheet or anything that you want them to do and you know for a fact that that's an area the students struggle with, you can create a video ahead of time and then share it with them. They can go back and watch it multiple times. I also use videos, YouTube videos, to communicate with families, communicate with my students. If there's any changes that occur, I create a quick YouTube video, send it out. If there is a student who's struggling with a specific area, I can also use it to individualize instruction, send them the link privately to just them working out a problem, and then giving them a practice one, and they can again go back, watch it time and time again. So that's YouTube. Coming in at number 2, Nearpod. If you have not heard of Nearpod, I encourage you to stop what you're doing right now and go check it out. So there is so much to Nearpod that I can spend an hour sharing information with you on Nearpod, but I'm going to just cover a couple of the things that I like the most. Number 1 is that Nearpod has a lesson library. So if you're going to be teaching on magnetism, for example, you just search their library for magnetism and it will give you a list of lessons that you can use. So you don't have to start from scratch when you're creating your online lessons. How Nearpod works is students will log into your live lesson room. Let's say you're using Zoom, or in my case, I'll be using Adobe Connect. So students log in, you give them the code to their live lesson in Nearpod. They log into Nearpod. They can still hear you, but they don't have to have your live lesson room open. They can just minimize your window, open up Nearpod, and do the lesson along with you. So they'll be participating, so you can be teaching them. Like, let's say you do a slide explaining to them a concept, and then the next slide you want them to practice. They'll be able to do that. You'll be able to get that information right away as to who did it, who got it correctly, who still needs help. This page right here shows you a couple of the things that you can add to any given slide. So you can add video, whether it is your own or one from YouTube. You can add a PhET simulation. So if you teach science, again, very important, very useful tool. You can add a slideshow. So if you already have a deck of slides that you really like, you can upload them. You can add any audio. So you can add your voice. If you want students to listen to, let's say you're teaching music appreciation, you want them to listen to something and then respond to it, you can do that as well. Any field trips. So this is the VR part of it, and I've used this a lot in my marine science class. You can create your own slide. So if you don't have a slideshow already, you can create a slide right here on Nearpod. You can add a link to a website. You can add a graphing calculator, which is fantastic, especially when you're teaching math and science. You can add a BBC video. Vocabulary. If you're not familiar with those, you are missing out, so try them out. You can add a Nearpod 3D, so any 3D image that you want them to examine and be familiar with. A Sway, I do not use Sway too much, but if it's something that you use, you have the ability to add those as well. Activities, time to climb, one of my favorites. I like to use it at the end of class. It's kind of like Kahoot, where everybody competes and you can see at the end who takes the first place. Open-ended questions, you draw it. So for the draw, you can add any background image, and the students can draw over it. So if you want to upload a picture of a bunch of emojis and have them identify how they're feeling today. Collaborate board. So I use this again as an exit ticket sometimes, and this is if you have ever used Post-its in your classroom, this is the virtual version. Polls, you can add any poll to pull out a poll and see where everybody stands. Matching, an actual quiz with multiple choice. Fill in the blanks. You can add Flipgrid to this. You can create a memory test. Again, and this is just a preview of all you can do with Nearpod. That's why Nearpod is at number 2 for me. And last but not least, we're at number 1. Number 1, I have the Google Suite. And that is because there's so much you can do with Google. And again, all of it is free. Students are familiar with it. So one of the things that I like about Google is Google Slide. You can also use Google Slides for teaching. One example would be with the jigsaw activity, where you have different students, different groups research different topics, and let's say group 1 is going to be working on slide 1, and you have the question or the topic that they're working on, and then slide number 2 is for group 2, and then slide number 3 is for group 3, and you share out the link with them. First you publish to the web, and then you share the link with them, and then you'll be able to go in and see how the groups are doing. Right? And then you can go into the breakout rooms individually, help them out, answer their questions. And then at the end, you can all come back and each group can share out what they found. So that's one way I like to use Google Slides for teaching in live lesson. Another one I like from Google is the Google Form. Again, I don't know what I would do without this. So Google Form is a way for you to create a quiz on the spot. So if you need a quick exit ticket, or if you need to create a survey, or if you need to create a quiz or a test, or whatever it may be. I even use this for parents when we're going on field trips to get information from them as well. But this is just an example here of how I use it for extra credit. This is another way I use it for. What I like about Google Forms is not only how easy it is to use, but all the data that you get as well. You're able to quickly examine who got what question wrong, who got what questions right, and it allows you to quickly see where everybody stands at the end of each lesson if you use it for exit tickets. Next one would be Google Docs. And again, what I like about this one is that everybody can collaborate simultaneously, so everybody can work on one document at the same time. As a teacher, you can go in and view the history of the file, and as you can see here, you can see on the right all the changes and who made the change and at what time. So you'll be able to track who's doing what work and what is there and what's missing, who needs help, who's not participating. Then you have Google Sites, and if you don't have a class website, this is a great starter for you. Google Sites allows you to create a website where you can share different things with your students. Like you can have a slide for your live lesson recordings, your guided notes, assignments and things like that. One thing that I like about Google Sites is, again, it's free, user-friendly, students are already familiar with it. I have also seen teachers use it to have students create their own websites. And then we have Google Sheets. Google Sheets, again, is the online version of Excel, allows everybody to collaborate on it at the same time. You can use it to create a calendar for your students, so you can share out when you'll be teaching what and what resources you share then. You can use it to create games that you might be playing in live lesson. You can also use it to teach graphs. And the last one I wanted to go over with Google is Jamboard, and this is one that I recently became familiar with, and I think it could be very useful, especially if you don't have a whiteboard on the platform that you're using. But Jamboard is pretty much that. It's a whiteboard that everybody can come together and participate in. And this is just an example here. You can add any image, and you can have different slides, again, for students to answer. You can have questions ahead of time for them to do, or if you want everybody to work on the same question, you can have them as well. But it allows everybody to participate in live format, so you can see who's doing what, who needs help with what, and students can also go back and do the problems asynchronously. So there you have it, top 10 free online teaching tools. I hope that you have learned something useful that you can go ahead and share with your students as you embark this distant learning environment. Thank you so much for watching.